And welcome everyone to another edition of Masonic Light Talk. I'm your host, Past Master Rod Funderburk of Bivouac Lodge number 503. And we are hailing from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where we are part of the 30th District, where our Worshipful Master is Worshipful Master Keyshawn L. Allen, and our District Deputy is Terry Andrews. And of course, our leader of the North Carolina jurisdiction is our Most Worshipful Grand Master, Daniel D.T. Thompson. As you already know, the true purpose of Masonic Light Talk is to give the craft a chance to see the individuals behind the various titles within Masonry. And this is to allow them to see that, hey, we're all just regular people with regular lives who do experience good things, bad things, and sometimes ugly things. And we also wanted to be clear. We hear the question all the time, what are the Masons all about? This is what we're all about. We're here to make good men better men, whether it's in the family life, home life, work life. We're not here to make a bad man good, but we're here to take good men and make them better men. And of course, for those of you who are just beginning to follow us on Masonic Light Talk, we've been trying to include all of the Masonic houses within the North Carolina jurisdiction. So if you would let us know if there's any particular title or house that you would like to see or hear an interview on, please let us know and we'll do our best to make that happen for you. And for this episode here, we have a very, very special guest joining us on Masonic Light Talk. And he is the most recent former Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge Free and Accepted Masons of North Carolina jurisdiction. And he is none other than past Grand Master Milton Toby F Fitch. Past Grand Master, welcome to Masonic Light Talk. And thank you for taking the time to grace us with your presence.
Thank you very much, Past Master Funderburk. It's good to be here with you. My hat is off to Bivouac Lodge 503 for having the foresight to put together such a program as this, and it is very informative. I follow you, and it's a great production. Thank you.
Well, God bless you. We appreciate that. Past Grand Master. And, you know, we don't have a lot of time on Masonic Light Talk, so we're just going to jump right into it. And as you know, we have been experiencing a serious pandemic, with the coronavirus out here. So I want to ask, how are you and your family holding up during these uncertain times?
My family and myself during this pandemic have been well, thanks to God. This new strand is now out called Delta. All in my family have received the vaccination. We all took the Moderna, and we had the 2 shots rather than the 1 shot. We hope that the science is steady, and that should we contract it at this point in time, that we will be able to survive, because it should not be as severe with us as it would have been had we not had the vaccination. So I encourage everybody to take the vaccination. It is an ounce of prevention, and that's better than a pound of cure.
Yes, it is. And we do hope everyone continues to be safe out there, especially for our listeners who are following here on Masonic Light Talk. And Grant, as we go right into it, a lot of our listeners may not exactly know who you are, may not be too familiar with you. Would you please take a few minutes just to share some light on us, about the family you come from, kids, education? Just give us a little background about you, sir.
I am Milton F. Toby Fitch. I am the second of 5 children. My parents believed in education and higher education. All 5 siblings, 4 siblings and myself, we all have terminal degrees. There are doctors, lawyers, and Indian chiefs who have gone through education. My brother used to be an athletic director at the college level. I'm a lawyer. My sister Pat, who is now deceased, was a lawyer, went to Hampton Institute. My sister Ernestine, a medical doctor, went to North Carolina Central and then to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, practiced in Cleveland, Ohio. Her twin is a PhD doctor professor down at East Carolina University. So we believe in education. We think that is the way that improves the lot of all of us. And so we're pleased with the education that we have. I've been fortunate. I've served as the 23rd Most Worshipful Grand Master of the North Carolina Prince Hall body. I served in that position for 16 years. I was replaced by Daniel D.T. Thompson, who is the 24th. There are 24 individuals who have been Grand Master of North Carolina. The last three, 23, 22, and 24 are still alive.
Beautiful. That Grand Master, thank you for all that you've done as a Grand Master and all the service that you've given. And education is important. And I hope the folks listening will take heed to that and know that there's nothing like getting that education. Grandmaster, as we continue to talk, I would love for you to tell our audience, what is it that brought you to Masonry, as well as where are you hailing from?
I'm a member of Mount Hebron Lodge number 42 in Wilson, North Carolina, which is the 42nd lodge formed in the state of North Carolina, Prince Hall. That's in Wilson, North Carolina. Masonry came very easy to me. They say if you want to be one, ask one. I saw one on a daily basis. My father was a Prince Hall Mason. He was the 20th Most Worshipful Grand Master, the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of North Carolina. So I followed in his footsteps. And I think most men want to be like their dad. I wanted to be like my dad, but I never really wanted to be Grand Master. I didn't really seek it. It kind of sought me. The time and the circumstances at the time that I became Grand Master gave me an opportunity to exhibit skills and habits and positions that I've had in life that have been dear to me, that have carried me to where I am presently today. I've spent 20 years in the North Carolina House of Representatives. I spent 18 years as a Superior Court judge. I've held a law license now for right at 50 years. So I've had a life of service, and now I'm serving in the General Assembly again as a state senator from District 4, which is Wilson County, Edgecombe County, and Halifax County.
Wow, Grand Master, you have a lot going on, and we appreciate your service, not only as Grand Master, but what you're doing for us in the state of North Carolina in the General Assembly. We really appreciate that. As Grand Master, past Grand Master Fitch, what do you think is probably the most important aspect as well as responsibility of a good Grand Master?
To maintain peace and harmony within your craft.
And that's it, peace and harmony.
Peace and harmony. It is a brotherhood, meaning that men come together of different walks of life, different ideas, different forms of education, different levels. When you say to be one, ask one, the qualifications to become a Mason are that you are freeborn, you are lawful age, and you're well recommended.
Yes, sir.
You take then those good men and you then make them better when they become Master Masons.
Yes, sir. Past Grand Master, has one of those 24 men who have had the privilege to serve as Grand Master of this North Carolina jurisdiction, what was the number one thing that you wanted to accomplish while you were sitting in the seat? And do you feel you did so?
The number one thing I did not. The number two thing I'll say, I did not. The first thing that I wanted was to restore peace and harmony and stability in our finances. Mm-hmm. I did that. We did that together. Not that I did it with the help of the craft and at the pleasure and will of the craft. The second thing that I wanted to do was to build a home that would accommodate the entire Prince Hall family. We have a building now that is good for our headquarters, but we can't have our major functions in that building. I wanted to be able to have a mini convention center that would house us and accommodate us, as well as serve our community. When I look at it, Prince Hall Masons own large buildings, but basically all you can do in those large buildings is have your meetings. I wanted a thing that would give us permanent income, that hopefully would have a dialysis clinic at the back end of the property that would take care of us and a lot of the medical problems that we have. We do know that we as a race of people, Prince Hall Masons, have a high degree of diabetics. We have problems with the sugar counts, and we're losing toes and all of these things. Our kidneys are going bad. So hopefully we could have placed a clinic there at the back end of that property. I did
Yes,
not
sir.
accomplish that.
Well, Grand Master, that is a heck of a goal to have, especially in an organization like this. But I'm sure you came close to accomplishing that goal. Past Grand Master, you know, you sat for 16 years as a Grand Master. What do you think attributed to you being able to have that type of longevity? I know the brothers had to love you in order to keep you there for 16 years. What do you think it was that caused you to be there that long?
I was a people person. You could approach me. You may not like everything that I would say, but you knew that what I did say, I was honest and sincere about it. You could trust what I said, carry it to the bank. I never deliberately or intentionally did anything to anybody within the craft that I would not want them to do to me. I'm not the type of individual that if I make a mistake, I'm too big. I'm not too big to say I'm sorry. Let's look at this thing again. Can we sit down and work it out, talk it out? I am very approachable. I've been that way all of my life, and I'm still that way now.
Past Grand Master, as we said, you're the most recent past Grand Master to have left the office. And I know you're still active in the Brotherhood. You're always checking on the brothers and seeing what's going on. How do you view the current state of your beloved jurisdiction of North Carolina as it relates to, or in regards just to the Brotherhood in general? How do you view it?
Well, I can only tell you about what I hear people say. I've never tried to interfere in the inner workings of this Grand Lodge under this Grand Master. I don't think that that is the right thing to do, to try to second guess another man.
Mm-hmm.
Man has his own platform. A man works it the way he works it. No two people see things just alike. I don't ask people to come to me and tell me what they think is the problems today, but I do receive it. And it does affect the way I feel, the way I think. I don't act in the same fashion as this Grand Master, as I'm sure this Grand Master doesn't act in the same fashion that I act. I can only tell you what I hear. I've not picked up the phone. I've not called this Grand Master and said, I understand this is what the problem is. This Grand Master has not picked up the phone and called me to say, hey, I've got a problem. Can you help me? Can you counsel me or advise me about this? I am a member of the craft who is concerned about the craft that I do love. And whatever it takes to make the craft have peace and harmony, I'm willing to do it.
Yes, sir. And Grant, we know that you love the craft. And what would you consider, I guess, has the most important qualification for, say, someone coming up through the ranks who might be looking at Grand Master or really any Grand Lodge office? What do you think those qualifications, attributes, characteristics should entail of someone who may one day look to become a Grand Master?
I would hope that every Master Mason who has sat the Oriental chair in his local lodge has a desire at some point in time to rise to the level to be Grand Master. We know all that may want to be, like all children want to be professional football players and basketball players, but we also have to be realistic about what we are attempting to achieve. Everybody who is a good man is not necessarily a good leader.
Yes, sir.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because it takes not just the leader only leads. But, you know, if you don't have somebody following you in a sufficient number, all you're doing is taking a walk. So We just need to find a way to come together, put aside petty differences, work and understand that it is the body. If in fact that is our problem, we must understand it is the body. The person only is the vehicle by which we move. No individual is larger than the craft.
Yes, sir. What advice, Grandmaster, past Grandmaster Fitch, would you give, say, the next generation of Grand Lodge leaders in regards to the craft? What kind of advice would you give them as leaders?
Well, the first thing is that our ritual teaches us the lessons of life. We take good men and we make them better, but that taking good men, making them better is based off of ritualistic works. You must believe and understand what your ritual is about. These rituals and this order has been here longer than we have been on the face of this earth and will be here after we are gone. The thing that you would hope to do is to maintain and strengthen that organization. If we look at what people say is the history, then you can then say that Masons were the builders of the temples. You can say that Masons were the first trade union. You can say that Masons were the first this and the first that. And once you lose that idea of who you are, then you probably forget whose you are. And thus you cannot remember where you are. And it is important to understand the signs and the symbols that go. These things have been passed down from time to memorial. And if you follow them, it's like leaving breadcrumbs on the ground. And a story that I learned a long time ago called Hansel and Gretel, it will take you back home. So you stay on the straight and narrow, and you'll be able to charter your course and go where you need to. And that's what we need to go back to.
You know, Grandmaster, I know you're a staple in the community, you're a staple in the craft, and you're just a staple across North Carolina. If a young man came to you and said, past Grandmaster Fitch, or they may not even know you as past Grandmaster Fitch, they may even say the attorney Fitch, Judge Fitch, what is Freemasonry all about? And the way Freemasonry is today, is it worth joining? What would your response be?
I would tell him absolutely yes, it is worth joining. If you can find somebody who feels that you are worthy and you seek out, because it will not seek you, you must seek it out. Somebody has watched you and made a determination of whether you are or are not. It is not a Greek fraternity. It is not about taking your best friend and bringing him in. There are some guys that I've run around with that I would not recommend for this order. Mm-hmm. And I am jealously guarding who does come in, because if you take garbage in, you're going to put garbage out. And so you have to make sure that you as a master mason are helping to build rather than helping to destroy. Thus, you don't have to then worry about whether or not you will turn on the order or the order will turn on you. Masonry will give to you what you give to it.
Beautiful, past Grandmaster. Grand, I've got another question here. Is there anything on your heart that you would just like to state for the listeners, to the brothers of the craft, people listening, anything that you want them to know, anything on your heart that you just really would love to share?
I say to any brother, be careful of what people say. Follow what people do. Be careful how people act. Follow those actions. We are servants as Masons. And we must always remember that as servants, you have a price to pay. Being a servant and being a leader within the Masonic order, that is your community. Your community is about people who want to do good. That's good all the way across the board, socially, morally, and everything else. And so just don't forget what your history is. You stay the course, you'll be all right. It's not a fanciful thing. Just as we say it's not a fraternity, you don't ask everybody to come into your house. You don't ask everybody to be a Mason. So I believe in the principles as we are taught. Every Mason who hears me now knows what they are. Be true to them. And those principles will be true to you.
That is very true.
Are we a secret order? No, not really. The biggest secret is that there ain't no secret in Masonry. That's the secret. Everybody knows who that guy is down the street. They know it because you do what? One public service? What is the public service that you do? You bury your dead. They don't see you when you raise your brothers. They see one thing, and people make up their mind, I want to be like that. But they also see you do other things in your community, which says that's the kind of man I'd like to be.
Well, Grand, we're getting down to the end of Masonic Light Talk. And of course, on Masonic Light Talk, being the host, I have people who call me and ask different questions, and they share different things with me. And this last question that I have for you, of course, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. It's totally your choice. But there have been a number of brothers who have said they requested that you try and come back in as Grand Master or run for Grand Master. Is there any truth to that? Is that something that you might see in your future that you may try? Totally up to you if you want to answer.
Well, you are a brother. You asked me a question. I'm bound to be honest with you. I have been asked. I have always been a servant. I will be a servant if that is what my brothers want. In the Masonic order, I've had the opportunity to make a determination of whether or not somebody was campaigning for an office. In Masonry, we don't campaign for an office. I've been elected to positions that were in the political arena. I campaigned for those. You campaign to be an officer in the Masonic Lodge, but you do it with deeds. You don't go out here and say, hey, guys, I want you to vote for me against this guy or that guy. That is not the way of a Mason. And I will not violate that. I'm not going out here drumming anybody. If it's a craft's will, then let it be done. If it is not the craft's will, then so be it. There's a thing that says, I think people get mixed up. And the way I understand what the book of Genesis says, there was a question posed. It was posed to a brother concerning a brother. And the brother was asked, where is your brother? The response was, I maintain, an arrogant response. The response was, well, am I my brother's keeper? Which was not what was asked. Okay? So I'm not going to throw a rock at a brother. I'm not going to shoot a slingshot at a brother. I'm not going to go campaign. You asked me a question. I've answered the question. I have a right if I want to run. I have a right. I qualify if I want to run. All right? The qualifications to be Grand Master is that you must have served as at least a Grand Junior or Senior Warden. I believe that's the qualification. Or you must have been a deputy. I've been Grand Master, so I qualify. I'm a freeborn, well recommended, and I'm of age. So if the craft decides that's what they want as their leader, then so be it. If the craft doesn't decide that they would want me, will still be Milton F. Toby Fitch Jr., the 23rd Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of North Carolina. I am forever pinned and styled in that fashion. So only people that I have to please are those who would do what? Elect me and be members of the craft.
Yes, sir. And past Grandmaster, we do thank you for your former service and all that you have done for the craft here in the North Carolina jurisdiction. We do appreciate it. And lastly, Grandmaster, as we're running out of time and we got to get out of Masonic Light Talk, and you know how we do before we leave, we always want to ask, is there something on your heart or anything else or something we may have missed that you might want to share? If so, if you would do that at this time before we get ready and close.
I love this jurisdiction. I love Prince Hall Masonry, and I love my brothers. May the will of the great architect of the universe guide this jurisdiction now, henceforth, and forever. And I thank you for having me.
Past Grandmaster, thank you for taking the time out to be on Masonic Light Talk. You have really graced us on this edition, and we thank you and hope that you have not found it robbery for coming out to take a little time with us here on Masonic Light Talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. And to the Prince Hall family out there, I want to thank you for tuning in and listening to this edition of Masonic Light Talk, featuring our very special guest, past Grandmaster Toby F. Fitch. And for those of you who are not a part of the Masonic family, remember, it's not hard. In order to be one, just ask one. I'm your host, Past Master Rod Funderburk of Bivouac Lodge number 503. I can't wait to see you on our next edition of Masonic Light Talk. Until then, my brothers and sisters, please be safe and travel light.